Good morning. Welcome to the Sunday morning service of Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende. Come on. Whether in person or on Zoom, we're grateful to be together this morning creating community. If you're here on Zoom, you're one of many across Mexico, Canada, the US, even a few other countries joining our service today. We strive to be a loving community for each other and our neighbors, and we're mindful that the physical community of San Miguel de Allende, which we share, is located on the ancestral lands of the Chichimeca, Otomi, and Nahua peoples. My name is Susan McDonald. I'm missing my name tag. I'm a member of the Sunday Service Committee and happy to be your service leader today. As a special welcome message, I'd like to share this one from what was my home UU congregation in Princeton, New Jersey, for just over 10 years until I moved here not even 4 months ago. I love the words, and I think they're so inclusive. You're welcome here, of any faith or no particular faith. You're welcome here, of any gender, race, ethnicity, background, immigration, or refugee status. You're welcome here. People of all abilities and gifts are welcome, as are people of all affectional orientations and gender identities, and income levels, and thoughts and questions about faith and beyond. You're welcome here if you've come alone, or with friends or family, or if you're just starting out in life, or have seen many years, or are somewhere in between. If you've come here sad or angry or fearful, welcome. If you've come here joyful, welcome. If you're curious, cautious, carefree, all are welcome in this sacred space where we believe that each person is holy, everyone is loved, and all have gifts to share with the world. There are a few announcements to share, and I hope I don't miss any. First, the Hotel Aldea has a request that if you parked here and wish to leave the premises to have lunch somewhere after the service, please be courteous and check in at the front desk to pay for parking. And thanks for your understanding. Also remember our change in policy regarding attending Sunday services in person. If you want to guarantee a seat, you may reserve ahead of time with Diana Amaya. Whether reserved or walking in, you do need to provide her with proof of your vaccination status against COVID. Either email her a photo or bring it with you, and she'll keep track of it for all the times after that. We invite you to explore the UUFSMA website for announcements of activities, volunteer opportunities, and membership information. You can easily link to the Sunday Zoom from the webpage, donate to the fellowship, link to our YouTube channel to watch this service and previous ones. And please share our website with your friends and family too. For today's service, I'm pleased to welcome back and in person today's speaker, the Reverend Alan Taylor. Though many of you know Reverend Taylor, he will be fully introduced a bit later. If you're with us by Zoom, just stay connected after the postlude music ends to reflect on today's message with others and visit with the speakers. Those of you in our physical space, please exit quietly to visit outside after the postlude so noise really carries and bounces off the walls, so that those visiting on Zoom can be heard without background noise. And as a special incentive to go outside, there's fresh cookies. So don't miss those. Now I'd like to welcome Margot Johnson, the chair of the Ministry Task Force, who has an update for us.
Hi, Happy New Year. It's a good year, we hope. I'm Margot Johnson, co-chair of the What Y'all Want Committee. It's a task force for the future of professional ministry here at our fellowship. As has been reported several times, we had 172 members complete the survey telling us what y'all want, what y'all think. So the task force continues to meet weekly. And we're working hard to finalize a proposal taking into consideration what the membership expressed in the surveys. We will take our final proposal that we will bring to the board on February 1st, and they will look at it at their February meeting, and then be able to take it to the membership annual meeting in March. Our task force members are committed to preparing a balanced proposal that takes into consideration the expressed wishes of our members and leads to a way forward that we can agree upon. We appreciate your patience and your understanding as we work to offer solutions to what we believe will bring unity and clarity to our fellowship. We will keep you updated as we progress. Once again, I thank you for your participation, for being here today. And now we're going to hear from Dr. Stephanie Studenski for the task force for the COVID. I guess that's a committee, the COVID task force.
Good morning. This is Stephanie Studenski reporting to you for the UU-FSMA COVID Task Force. As we all know, the Omicron variant of the COVID-19 virus is spreading rapidly, although it's not yet clear how much it has spread to Mexico. Early reports seem to suggest that this variant may be more likely to cause a mild upper respiratory condition or even be asymptomatic, especially in fully vaccinated and boosted individuals. But more serious illness can still develop in more vulnerable people, including those who are immunocompromised, not fully vaccinated, or who have chronic conditions. So for now, we encourage you to remain very cautious. Recent recommendations suggest that we should avoid using cloth-only masks. So either use close-fitting, high-quality masks, or at least a surgical, the blue one, mask with your cloth one. The UU-FSMA board has requested that our task force advise them on when and if to suspend in-person services due to the latest COVID surge. We're considering criteria, but do not yet have a definitive recommendation. We'll be monitoring the situation closely. We send our thoughts and prayers to you all, especially to those frontline workers who face these risks every day.
Add my good morning. I'm the Reverend Tom Rossiello, the minister of this fellowship, and it's so good to be with you again, either here in person or on Zoom. Before we enter this time of worship, I want to welcome our guest minister who's standing beside me here, Alan Taylor, who joins us in person, our second in-person guest minister, to share his insights and what I know will be inspiration this morning. Alan and I go back a very long time. I met Alan when I served on his intern minister committee at my home church of First Unitarian in Worcester, Massachusetts, not more than 25 years ago, for sure. I remember listening to his first sermons, witnessing his pastoral care, and watching him embrace his calling. And I knew then he had great gifts of ministry to share. Those gifts were put to very good use as a parish minister in several congregations, most recently serving for 18 years as senior minister of one of our flagship congregations. Many of you know it by its Frank Lloyd Wright building, Unity Temple in Chicago. Alan has just embarked on a new adventure in public ministry called Love with Courage, and the website for that ministry is being launched this month. He's here in San Miguel with his wife, Angelica Taylor Cortez, who's from Mexico City, and their two children, Marcos and Erica. It's my joy to have them visiting again for Three Kings. We're creating a bit of a tradition of doing that. This morning we began a new year together, and it's a tradition, as one of the opening lines of one of our hymns says, to ring out the old and ring in the new. It's time to let go of the past and welcome the future with open hearts and minds. Our lives are ever changing, and we know not what tomorrow will bring, but together we support each other as we face what life has in store for us. As Alan lights our chalice this morning, we're reminded of the importance of welcoming all that comes and engaging with it for what all of it has to teach us. We do so with these words from the Sufi mystic poet Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. It's with gratitude for all of life's blessings, those obvious and those quite well disguised, that we invite each other into this time and this place. We invite each other to be part of this journey together. And we do so with words that were from another Rumi poem, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. Those words are going to appear on the screen, or they're in your hymnal at 188. But particularly as we sing it on this New Year's, there's actually one line that didn't get into that hymn from the Rumi poem. You know, come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair, come yet again, come. The missing line is, even though you've broken your vow 1,000 times. It adds a little bit of New Year message to it. So Alan, Malcolm, and I are going to lead you. We're going to just sing it through in unison, perhaps 2 or 3 times. Malcolm? Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. We'll pick it up a little bit and come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
Again, when the words appear on the screen, we'll join together with our covenant. I'll read the English, and Diego will come up, I believe, Diego, and read the Spanish. We respect the interdependent web of life and work for a just and peaceful world. We encourage the search for truth and meaning, strive for compassion in our relationships, and seek values that will benefit our lives and the lives of others. This is our covenant.
Respetamos todos los estilos de vida dentro de su red interdependiente y trabajamos por un mundo justo y pacífico. Alentamos la búsqueda de la verdad y la compasión total. Nos esforzamos por mantener compasión en nuestras relaciones y buscamos valores que beneficien nuestras vidas y las vidas de los demás. Este es nuestro convenio.
We now enter into a very special time in our service, a time when members and friends share significant milestones, significant joys, sorrows, and concerns with their community. If you have one that you would like shared in a future service, please email it to me and we'll be sure to make sure it's spoken in the service. If you have something on this morning and you're on Zoom and you'd like to type it into chat, Kathy will be watching the chat to see if we have any to add towards the end. When we share a joy, a sorrow, a concern, we light a candle, and Susan will be lighting for us this morning. We do so to represent that concern, that thought, that prayer is with us in community this morning. We light our first candle for Michael Murphy. Our thoughts and prayers go out to him and to Kathy. Michael, as many of you know, went back to the States and thought he might need to get a couple of stents put in, but the procedure revealed that he needed a triple bypass. He was scheduled to have that surgery on December 29th, and just before the final preoperative tests, he tested positive for COVID. So everything had to be postponed. I just got a message from Michael this morning saying that he's over symptoms and the surgery is now scheduled for January 12th. We send him our love and our good wishes. We know this waiting time is difficult, and we pray for his return in top condition soon. Our next is a candle of joy from Els Marie Norbe. Many of you know that a little over a week ago, Els Marie's home was robbed and she lost computer, iPad, TV, and many family pieces of jewelry and the like. Well, many of those people from this fellowship and her neighbors have stepped forward. She has a refurbished computer, a TV, and someone is bringing her an iPad, I think today. With your help, the things that could be replaced, and of course we can't replace those sentimental things, have been. And she told me yesterday how grateful she is to be part of this community and how they helped her. I'd like to light a candle for Noah Cohen and her husband, Mickey, all the way up at Corvallis, Washington. As I know many of you know, Mickey is failing and requiring much more care, and Nora's having challenges getting the help she needs to care for him. And this candle is for Nora and for all who are caregivers and struggle with that difficult task. Know we're with you in spirit and we're here for you if we can help. I'd like to light a candle for Andrea Kaufman, who continues her struggle with some debilitating back pain in Pennsylvania, undergoing some more tests. We wish her well. We have two candles of remembrance from folks, one for Bishop Desmond Tutu, who passed away this week, the incredible South African Anglican bishop who helped negotiate that country through apartheid, and one for Betty White, who brought the healing ministry of humor to so many people. We now see if there's any that have come into chat. Okay, Kathy.
Hi, all. We just have many, many loving wishes for a happy birthday to Diana Amaya, whose birthday was yesterday.
And I can just add to that, we already lit a candle for Els Marie, but her birthday was New Year's Day, so we can send her a birthday best wish too. We light our final candle for all those joys, sorrows, and concerns that remain unspoken, but I think it's especially on this day for a better 2020, one where COVID comes more under control and we can take more steps back towards a normal life. And now, I invite you to join me in a time of New Year's reflection, meditation, or prayer. Yes, just another day passed. We started a new page on our calendar. Perhaps it's of no great import. Yet it is a time when we mark an ending and a beginning. It is a time when we take stock of where we've been and looking to where we are going. Of course, It's so important to be in the moment, in this time. But we don't just live in the moment. We live with the past remembered and with an eye to the future. And how we treat the past and how we embrace the future is important to who we are and who we will be. It's important to us as individuals and to us as a community. In taking stock, we remember the events of the past year, good things, joys, new people that came into our lives, were born, relationships established, new neighbors, new friends, new members of this fellowship. Let's bring them into our minds now. We too celebrate the successes, things accomplished, blessings we were able to share, and those we received from others. Take a moment to hold those in your hearts. We also remember the losses, the folks who've left us, passed away, or moved away, and the sadness that we've experienced in the past year. Maybe a difficult diagnosis, maybe just something we're no longer able to do. We all are heavy with some burdens, especially in this time of COVID, but other burdens too, fears, anger, sadness. What the start of a new year does is remind us that we can lighten up. We can let go of some of that heaviness that manifests itself in so many negative ways. It doesn't mean we'll be irresponsible or not care anymore about those people we love or those causes that are important to us. It means that we can live our lives in ways that weight of whatever it is on our plate does not immobilize us, does not turn us bitter, does not hold us in the past, does not hurt others. I invite you to identify what has weighed most heavily on you this past year, and sit for a moment and allow some of that weight to be lifted off you, knowing that more good is in store and others will be there for you when you need them, that you are not alone. You know, we don't often engage in words of prayer together, but this morning I invite you to do so with me in song, to join what I believe is a great New Year's prayer, one that may be in the hearts of many of us. It's hymn number 86 in the gray hymnal, Blessed Spirit of My Life, and the words will appear in a moment on your screen as well. be the source of my intuition. Then when life is done for me, let love be my legacy.
Good morning. My name is John Simsarian, and I am a member of the Social Action Committee. And I'm here today to introduce the collection. The Fellowship has a long-standing tradition of providing at least 1/2 of its budget to help fund nonprofit organizations in San Miguel with which we partner to help address issues of poverty. Last week, the Fellowship conducted a special offering to provide assistance to the Haitian migrants who were passing through San Miguel on their way north. The collection raised over $1,700. Congratulations. Today's offering, however, will go to support the Fellowship, with the funds being used for operating expenses and to help support our partner organizations. When introducing the offering, we frequently highlight the work of one of our partner organizations. Caminos de Agua is one of those organizations. This is a strong, creative, and dynamic organization that has a mission to improve human health and community well-being through adequate and affordable access to clean water. You may know that the upper Rio Laja watershed stretches across Guanajuato State, including San Miguel de Allende. This aquifer is dramatically declining. Wells are going dry, and the remaining water may contain 12 times or more of the recommended limits for arsenic and fluoride. This is known to cause dental fluorosis, painful skeletal fluorosis, cognitive, developmental, and learning disabilities in children, and several types of cancer. The cause of this crisis is unsustainable over-extraction of groundwater, mainly by large-scale agricultural production, which exports to the United States. This has driven the water table down from a couple of dozen meters to more than 200 meters, and the groundwater levels continue to drop 2 to 3 meters per year. We've been helping to fund what Caminos de Agua calls its water learning community. This project is a comprehensive training and capacity building program for emerging community leaders and grassroots organizations throughout the upper Rio Laja watershed region. At this point, there are 32 communities involved with the workshops, and each small community has elected 2 representatives to participate. These representatives thus become leaders within their respective communities in mitigating water issues going forward, and can also be better prepared to help their communities organize in other areas of local and regional need in the future. This program is part of a larger 3-year project that will bring education, technical training, clean water, and sanitation services throughout the construction and installation of hundreds of rainwater harvesting systems, ceramic water filters, and composting toilets to several thousand people. The community leaders whom we're helping to train are crucial to the success of this effort. Caminos is, in addition, is collaborating with communities, is collaborating with other organizations, and we here in this fellowship are proud to be part of that partnership. Your donations make this possible. Donations to our fellowship support not only the fellowship, but through our 12 community partners, we help to change lives and to save lives. The fellowship is strong and will stay strong through your donation as we continue to go forward together. So, during the upcoming pause in the service, or immediately after the service, please go to our donation link, which you will find in the chat box or at our website, uufsma.org. Here at the Aldea, the basket will be passed. Thank you for being generous today. The offering will now be collected and gratefully received. Thank you.
Well, I'm grateful to be joining you again. And so much has transpired since I was with you last 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, it was so good to be visiting Tom and Malcolm. And again, it is. And Malcolm, it is such a joy to have your music, to be a part of this service. But so much has transpired in the last 2 years. We've all had to learn how to deal with changes in lifestyles, with disappointments, with losses, and some profound losses that could not be grieved with family and friends. And here we are at the beginning of a new year. A new year amidst uncertainty, as the pandemic appears to be back in full force, and the foundations of democracy at peril, both here in Mexico and in the United States. And so, I come today to bid you hope and courage. And with the call to love. And as a beginning, I share with you a reading from Forrest Church from his lovely book, Lifelines, that has the paradoxical subtitle, Holding On and Letting Go. Over the years, my parishioners have taught me 2 lessons. When cast into the depths, to survive, we must learn how to let go of things, to let go of things that will not save us. Then we must reach out for things that can. As for the things that will not save us, until we free ourselves from an attachment to false sources of security and let go of our illusions, we will remain in the abyss. With respect to things that can save us, the most important thing to remember is that lifelines have 2 ends. To grasp one end, however tightly, avails us nothing unless the other end is secured. Unless we reach out to and for others, seeking meaning not in our own suffering, but in our shared experience of the human condition, our lifelines cannot hold. I invite you to join me in singing, There Is More Love Somewhere. It is number 95 in the hymnal, and I invite you to rise if you wish to sing. I think it was before my 24 years of parish ministry that I encountered the most difficult person to be with in the hospital. It was my own grandmother. She had suffered a stroke that had rendered her paralyzed on one side of her body. And I was returning home to Bakersfield each month as the student minister from Star King School for the Ministry there. I would go south to Bakersfield, California, and I would go in and visit my grandmother, and she wouldn't stop complaining about what was going on for her, or stop making comments about what isn't okay, what's hard. And this constant pecking just made it so difficult. And it was during the holiday season that I discovered that if I brought my hymnal, the Singing the Living Tradition hymnal, with me and sang to her, she would quiet down and simply listen. And there in that stillness, I found a communion with her. And I knew that she was listening, because she would say, after I had finished a number of these Christmas carols, she'd say, "That's nice, Alan, but you changed the words." Well, after she died, my grandfather, who didn't miss a single day of visiting her in the care center where she lived for 9 months, after this, he would tear up regularly. And he mentioned to me that he felt like my father, that is, his son-in-law, must think he's crazy. Because he said, I'd just tear up, and sometimes I'd, just be, close to sobbing. And Alan, your father, would just turn away, not say anything. And I held this with me through that day and to the next day, and I was having lunch with my mom and my dad. It was just the three of us at the table. And my mom raises up this issue. He says, Larry, Dad thinks that you think he's crazy because he tears up. And my dad said, well, I don't know why you think that. And I said, well, Dad, he was telling me that, he tears up and you turn away and you don't say anything. And my father looked at me hurt and said, but there's nothing intelligent to say. And he changed the topic in that moment and said, so, Alan, what are you preaching on tomorrow? And I said, just this topic, Dad. In the face of human suffering, there is nothing intelligent to say. I was a little harsh, but my point is that even though we shall encounter repeatedly through our lives moments of real suffering, we need not simply turn away. There's still the opportunity to response. We can become more whole and learn to respond with acknowledgement of witnessing pain. Maybe a simple gesture. Maybe putting the hand on the arm. or maybe simple words looking into the eyes. I see you. You're not alone. We religious progressives often excel at critical inquiry, analysis, and discussing issues from all sorts of angles. That's actually what I got out of my upbringing at the Kern County Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Bakersfield, California. I was steeped in critical inquiry. But that's the strength of our Unitarian tradition, and it's also the shadow. We typically value education and can be very well spoken, sometimes gregarious, and many of us love discussions. You may know that crazy joke about Unitarian Universalists about if at the pearly gates we're offered the opportunity of going to heaven or going to a discussion about heaven, where Unitarian Universalists will go. Well, we're relying so heavily on the intellect, our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition naturally struggles with its shadow side. And at those times in our lives when words fail, how do we respond? And not only in times of loss and grief, but also in times of great beauty and awe. I have found in Unitarian Universalist congregations when there is an extraordinary musical moment and this sense and moment of transcendence comes, it's actually a little bit too much for people, and they have to start clapping rather than allowing, wow. And there's a temptation among us heady folks to look away when there's beauty, joy, grief, loss. And at times, our intellect does not offer the lifeline we need. I'm curious, how many of you follow the New York Times? Many of you. Okay, the majority of you. Did any of you catch what was the article that came out this past week about which article over the past year was the most read, the most shared? I was amazed. Because if I was asked, what was the article the most read and shared through the year? I would have imagined it would have been about what happened nearly a year ago on January 6th. The attack on our Capitol. The clear attacks and imperiling of the basic foundations of democracy. Or an article about all the craziness that has happened since then as so many leaders of the United States government have encouraged false information and encouraging people to believe that our current president is not the legitimate president. No, I might have thought maybe the article that would have been the most read was about just how painful it was to take the troops out of Afghanistan and how the army in Afghanistan crumbled so quickly and the people there so dearly, desperately wanted more support. But I could have guessed that whatever article it would be an article for which there really isn't anything intelligent to say. So, what article was it? It has a very unique headline. There's a name for the blah you're feeling. It's called languishing. That's it. The most shared, the most read article of the New York Times in 2021 was entitled, "There's a name for that blah you're feeling. It's called languishing." The author Adam Grant says that languishing is not burnout or depression, but feeling aimless and joyless. He says languishing is a sense of stagnation and emptiness. It feels as if you're muddling through your days, looking at your life through a foggy windshield. In psychology, we think about mental health on a depression on a spectrum we think of mental health on a spectrum from depression to flourishing. Flourishing is the peak of well-being. You have a strong sense of meaning, mastery, and mattering to others, while depression is the valley of ill-being. You feel despondent, drained, worthless. Languishing is the neglected middle child of mental health. It's the void between depression and flourishing, the absence of well-being. You don't have symptoms of mental illness, but you're not the picture of mental health either. You're not functioning at full capacity. Languishing dulls your motivation, disrupts your ability to focus, and triples the odds that you'll cut back on work. It appears to be more common than major depression. And in some ways, it may be a bigger risk factor for mental illness. Part of the danger is that when you're languishing, you might not notice the dulling of delight or the dwindling of drive. You don't catch yourself slipping slowly into solitude. You're indifferent to your indifference. As Adam Grant says, when you can't see your own suffering, you don't seek help or even do much to help yourself. I have known something about languishing over the last couple of years. And I suspect many of you have too. And the therapists I know in Oak Park, Illinois, and the therapists consulted by so many newspapers, they're all saying the same thing. So many people are overwhelmed. Wait lists are being closed. But that doesn't mean there aren't people that are in need. In his lovely book, Lifelines, Forest Church identifies 3. 1, our internal resources. That each of us has internal resources latent within that we can cultivate and claim access to through spiritual practice, as we get clearer about the calling of our own heart, our own gut, getting clear about what's happening in our own bodies. Secondly, the second lifeline is our relationships, our personal relationships, those with family and close friends. those with whom we share our confidences, who we walk with, who won't let us go, and we won't let them go either. And then the third lifeline I like to articulate as participating in beloved community. Knowing that we are a part of a network that is connected to other networks. That we are people connected to our own humanity and connected to other people that are connected to their humanity, including the network that is the fellowship here in San Miguel. And the networks that you are a part of, that you know there are people who share your values and are working on behalf of what's important to you. And knowing that there are people throughout Mexico, throughout the United States, throughout the world, all participating in these networks. But that is the third lifeline he articulates. In my own personal reflections about the path from languishing to flourishing, a highly bizarre vision keeps coming back to me. It's a vision, a waking vision that I had 12 years ago. I'm a little embarrassed to share this, but I think that a bizarre vision befits a sermon entitled, "When There's Nothing Intelligent to Say." So, the vision is this: a red ribbon pulls tightly around my neck. It is attached to a canvas bag that surrounds my torso. The ribbon is taut shut, and I need to pull it open. And in the vision, I'm pulling it open. I get it open enough until I can look inside. And I'm looking inside, and it's like, ugh, it's ugly, it's smelly. And the most resonant word for this is unseemly. I know instinctively that this churning mass is filled with fear, uncertainty, judgment, and most of all, shame. As I continue to work at loosening this ribbon, I feel called to pull the canvas bag down, to get it off, to get it all the way down. And as the vision continues, I know instinctually that I've got to get it down. And once I do, the perspective is not from the top, it's now from the side. And I see my torso as a mass of gray, putrid, indistinguishable mass. And I instinctually know that my insides need airing out, and that I can't effectively move through the world until I allow this, my insides, to really air out. And at that moment, I realize, my gut is indistinguishable from my heart. It remains hidden. Now, I've always been a heart-centered minister. Everyone has commented on how heart-focused, heart-leading I am. And for me, it was like, there's something more to me than just my heart. And that is my gut, that I have not been able to distinguish as clearly. And as I know my work is to distinguish the source of conviction, the source of courage, and wisdom within, that I will be able to move more effectively through the world with a greater fire of confidence, commitment, and passion. And at the time, I linked this vision 12 years ago to moving toward greater multicultural engagement and sensitivity. And I don't think it was a coincidence that this was a turning point for me in my ministry at Unity Temple, as I began fostering strong relationships with leaders of diverse theological perspectives and ethnic cultures. But today, and over the last 20 months, this vision has come back to me as something that I and I think a lot of people need to remember. There are parts of us that need to be seen, to lead us forward, that help us connect more deeply with those lifelines that Forest Church identifies. And what cultivates deeper connection? There's no question that Rumi is a poet of connection. Now, the guest house that Tom shared earlier in the service is so beautifully reminiscent of the wisdom of recognizing even the hard stuff that comes. We need to invite and recognize, befriend, and move forward with joy and love. In a century after Rumi taught people to run from what is comfortable and to be comfortable with all the hard things that do come in life, Hafiz, another great Sufi teacher and poet, shared this simple poem. Out of a great need, we are all holding hands and climbing. Not loving is a letting go. Listen, the terrain around here is far too dangerous for that. Let me repeat that poem. Out of a great need, we are all holding hands and climbing. Not loving is a letting go. Listen, the terrain around here is far too dangerous for that. Have you been languishing? Have you been tempted to letting go and not loving? Have you been holding on to something that prevents you from loving? What have you been holding on to that you need to let go? And what lifelines do you need to grab a hold of with greater fierceness? If you're like me, there's plenty to let go of, while loving is our greatest lifeline. The lifeline that ignites the three lifelines that Forest Church identifies: our internal resources, our personal relationships, and our participation in the beloved community. And this lifeline of loving that makes possible the other three, I call love with courage. Where is your great need? Reach out to others and climb through this perilous terrain. And grieve what there is to be grieved, to carve out that space for joy to fill us, to take us forward into the next chapters of our lives. May this be a year of blessings for each and every one of you. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. I invite you to open the hymnals to number 201. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Rise in body or spirit. And may we sing with joy. If a ribbon pulls around your neck and you move through the world primarily above the neck, join me in loosening that ribbon, pulling down the bag and airing out what is within. Allow your body to be a foundation of your authority, a friend, and a close guidepost for greater freedom, openness, and vitality. And remember that not loving is a letting go. And so at the beginning of this year, 2022, commit yourself to learning how to live ever more with love, love with courage. Blessed be. Amen.
Please be seated. First, we want to especially thank Alan for being with us here today and for giving us such an inspiring message. And we want to thank all of you for being here either by Zoom or in person. And I hope you'll be with us next week as we have a special service. 3 members of this congregation will be speaking to the topic, This I Believe. I want to remind those of you who are on Zoom to stay on, and Alan and I and others will be here. Those of you who are in the room, I would ask once again if you leave quietly and fairly quickly. Cookies are outside, and you can join others out there. We now extinguish our chalice, but not the light of truth and new insight we gain today, not the warmth of community we feel today, not the flame of justice, the heat of which burns in us, the flame of compassion that inspires us to reach out to others. Those we carry with us to make real in our lives and in our world.